Hi everyone, welcome to the Education Hour. I'm your host, Shaleeka Jayalath. Last week, we delved into the extraordinary life of British mathematician Alan Turing. This week, we take a closer look at his success with the Enigma code. Let us start, however, with a little background on cryptography. Cryptography is a branch of applied mathematics concerned with developing codes to enhance the privacy of communications. It is equally concerned with methods for breaking codes or ciphers. The Caesar cipher is one of the earliest known and simplest ciphers. It is a type of substitution cipher in which each letter in the alphabet is shifted a certain number of places. For example, with a shift of 1, A would be replaced by B, B would be replaced by C, and so on. If the shift was 3, A would become D, B would become E, and so on. The method is named after Julius Caesar, who apparently used it to communicate with his generals. A slightly more complex substitution cipher is the @bash cipher. In the @bash, the letters of the alphabet are reversed. In other words, all A's are replaced by Z's, all B's are replaced by Y's, and so on. It was originally used with the Hebrew alphabet, but it can be used with any alphabet. Hebrew scholars, interestingly, came across several references to the city of Sheshach in the book of Jeremiah in the Bible, which was not to be found on any map or any other document. When the @bash cipher was applied to the word Sheshach, it turned out to be a reference for the well-known city of Babel. Some ciphers use geometric symbols rather than letters or numbers. The classic pigpen cipher is a geometric substitution cipher that replaces letters with the fragments of a grid. To make the key, you need to create 2 tic-tac-toe grids and 2 X grids, one with dots and one without. Next, you fill in the alphabet from left to right and top to bottom. Then use the parts of the grid associated with each letter. This way, we can decipher what appears to be random drawings of lines and dots. Instead of geometric symbols, sound and light can also be used to create substitution ciphers. Morse code is one of these. Towards the end of World War I, Arthur Scherbius, a German electrical engineer, invented a mechanical cipher machine which he patented and sold under the brand name Enigma, meaning riddle in Greek. His first design of the Enigma was called Model A and was about the size and shape of a cash register weighing 50 kilos. Then followed Model B and Model C, which were more portable devices in which the letters were indicated by lamps. Essentially, the Enigma machine looked like a typewriter in a wooden box. It had an electromechanical rotor mechanism that scrambled the 26 letters of the alphabet so that letters would be encrypted differently each time. For example, the letter A would be encrypted as C when it first appeared in the message, and then it would appear as G in the same message. It was not by any means a straightforward substitution cipher. The security of the system depended on machine settings that were changed daily, based on secret key lists distributed in advance and on other settings that were changed for each message. The receiving station would have to know and use the exact settings employed by the transmitting station to successfully decrypt a message. The Enigma machine was considered so secure that it was used to encipher top secret messages in German intelligence during World War II. These ranged from top-level signals, such as detailed situation reports by generals at the battlefronts, and orders signed by Hitler himself, down to the important details of war, like weather reports and inventories of the contents of supply ships. With almost 159 quintillion possible settings, Enigma was considered the #1 encryption machine, which provided both the German army and the German navy with the strongest cryptographic ciphers at the time. German military communications were protected using Enigma machines during World War II until they were eventually cracked by Alan Turing at Bletchley Park due to a fatal flaw in the encryption algorithm whereby characters were never encrypted as themselves. Turing came up with a design for a machine known as a bomb to decipher the Enigma encrypted German ciphers. The prototype model of Turing's anti-Enigma bomb, named Victory, was installed in the spring of 1940. By early 1943, Turing's machines were cracking a staggering total of 84,000 Enigma messages each month. That's 2 messages every minute. Turing personally broke the form of Enigma that was used by the U-boats preying on the North Atlantic merchant convoys. This was a crucial contribution. The convoys set out from North America loaded with vast cargoes of essential supplies for Britain, but the U-boats' torpedoes were sinking so many of the ships that Churchill's analysts said Britain would soon be starving. The only thing that ever really frightened me during the war was the U-boat peril, Churchill said after the war. Turing and his colleagues at Bletchley Park succeeded in cracking the U-boats' communications to their controllers in Europe. With the U-boats revealing their positions, the convoys could dodge them in the Atlantic. Historians estimate that Bletchley Park's massive code-breaking operation, especially the breaking of the U-boat Enigma, shortened the war in Europe by as many as 2 to 4 years. If Turing and his group had not weakened the U-boats' hold on the North Atlantic, the 1944 Allied invasion of Europe, the D-Day landings, would have been delayed, perhaps by about a year or even longer, since the North Atlantic was a route that ammunitions, fuel, food, and troops had to travel in order to reach Britain from America. In the actual course of events, it took the Allied armies a year to fight their way from the French coast to Berlin. But if the Allied invasion had been delayed, giving Hitler more time to prepare his defenses, the struggle to reach Berlin might most likely have taken twice as long. Each year of the fighting in Europe resulted on average in about 7 million deaths. Thus, if the U-boat Enigma had not been broken and the war had continued for another 2 to 3 years, a further 14 to 21 million people might have been killed. Turing, despite his many eccentricities, was highly respected by his colleagues at Bletchley Park. Hugh Alexander, who worked with him, wrote, "There should be no question in anyone's mind that Turing's work was the biggest factor in Hut 8's success. In the early days, he was the only cryptographer who thought the problem worth tackling, and not only was he primarily responsible for the main theoretical work within the Hut, but he also shared with Welshman and Keene the chief credit for the invention of the bomb." It is always difficult to say that anyone is absolutely indispensable, but if anyone was indispensable to Hut 8, it was Turing. The pioneer's work always tends to be forgotten when experience and routine later make everything seem easy, and many of us in Hut 8 felt that the magnitude of Turing's contribution was never fully realized by the outside world. Not surprisingly, Alan Turing was voted the greatest and most influential figure of the 20th century in BBC Two's Icons 2019 live final. Alan Turing was in contention with finalists Nelson Mandela, David Bowie, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Muhammad Ali, and Pablo Picasso for the honor. Celebrity Chris Packham, who advocated on behalf of Turing, claimed that Alan Turing's genius brought Britain back from the brink during World War II. While he was punished for being different, his work celebrated diversity. Under the circumstances, that makes him truly iconic. On hearing that Alan Turing had won the award, Packham stated, "This result was a plea for tolerance, for different minds, for different sexualities, for different colors and religions, and that is what we need. Going forward, we are one species, one planet, we have one big problem, and we need these scientists to help us." He also hoped that the award would give others the confidence that they too could go out and change the world, a sentiment that Alan Turing would certainly have agreed with. Thank you for tuning in. Join me next week on the Education Hour when we consider another aspect of discrimination, apartheid. This is Shaleeka Jayalath. Stay safe.